Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let's look at many different ways that you could save links to websites. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now usually when you think about saving a website, you think about saving a bookmark. But there are so many different ways to actually save links. Some of them have uses in all sorts of odd situations. So like I said, the most obvious way is bookmarks. You're in Safari or a browser of your choice. You go to Bookmarks and you can add bookmark. Or Command D. There are other ways to do it as well. You can add a bookmark into a folder in your Bookmarks folder or just at the main level and then access it later on just by going to Bookmarks and there it is. But if you were to save your bookmark to your Favorites folder, then it will appear in Favorites, which is available in a few different places. Most notably, if you go to Show Favorites bar, you'll see it up here. And you can have folders of things and you can have bookmarks right there. A lot handier than going into this. But also you could go to the Start page, and the Start page of course is heavily customizable, and in it you can have favorites there as well, including any bookmarks that you have. So storing a link in Bookmarks is useful, but storing it in Favorites inside of Bookmarks is useful in other ways. Now in Safari you also have the reading list. You can go to Bookmarks and add to reading list in here, and it will appear in your reading list sidebar. So you can store all sorts of things in here, and when you actually view them they get marked as read. You can scroll down here and you can see all or just unread things in your reading list, and you can search it as well. Now you can also save a link as a file. So just go to the address bar here at the top of Safari, grab the web address. You have to grab right here where the address actually is. Some of these other elements do other things. So grab in here and you can drag. And if you drop it somewhere in the Finder like a folder or the desktop, you get a web location file, which is just a link. Now if you ever want to view that page, just double click that file. Open it up like it's a document or application and it will open up in your web browser. So you could store a bunch of these in folders. Here I am in the Finder. I'm going to create a folder called Links. And I can move this into here and see those files there. And I can create subfolders in here and organize these any way I want. You could go in and rename these to anything. It doesn't matter what the name is. It will still link to the same place. If you have a bunch of these on your desktop, you can of course organize them here if you want. But if you turn on Use Stacks, then you get the desktop stacks here, which means all of your links will be grouped together, as well as groups of other types of files like documents and such. Now I can click here and it expands just by web links. But if I have them in a folder here in the Finder, I could drag that folder to the right side of the dock, add it there, and now it's a doc stack. And I could view it like that. I could also control click on it, change it to a list, and then I can view the individual items and even any subfolders that are in there as well. So you can have access to a whole set of bookmarks that really are these little web location files, and they're in your dock rather than in your browser. Now it's a little strange, but you can also place these web links in your Finder toolbar. The way to do that is open up a second window. So you've got two windows like this. In this window I'm going to control click up here and customize toolbar. So now I can drag these buttons up into the toolbar. But I can also drag other items like one of these links from the other window there, since you can't get to them behind the customized thing. And then you've got the link there in the toolbar. So now you've got your web location link here. Click on it and it will open up your web browser and go to that site. I told you some of these are a little strange, and this one's got questionable use. I'm not sure why you would do it. What would make a lot more sense is to store links in a note. So you can create a note and you can drag and drop links right here to a note. If you don't want it to be this big block here, you could control click on it and view as small images, and then you get a smaller link like that. But you could also select the link and copy and then go and paste, and it will just be there as a regular link. And now the next time you do something like a space or return, it will actually just put a normal link like that, which makes a lot more sense. You can include a more compact list of links. You could organize them as lists with headings and sublists and all of that, and create a nice document here in Notes where you can easily access different links. Plus, in Notes you can also export as a PDF. So if you create something really nice and you want to save it outside of Notes, it's easy to do that. Reminders is another place you can create a list of links. Reminders isn't just for things that are reminders. You also can use them for lists. I create tons of lists that have nothing to do with a particular time, and you could do something like web links like that, and then you can drag and drop a link directly from Safari like that, and just keep creating this list. You can of course also type in the names or copy and paste into a new reminder like that, and you can see it's clickable but it takes up less space. Another useful location for links is inside your Contacts app. So many people have websites, or the company they work for has a website, or maybe you want to link to their social media profiles. You could add under fields here, under more fields, a URL, and you could put anything that you want. It's called a home page, but it could be a link to any site, Facebook profile, whatever it is that you want. Now that's a clickable link, and you could add more of those. So you can actually add all the social media profiles and different web links for a person in their contact record, and that way you can go right to them and see their phone number, and also know where you can go to online to see what they're up to. Calendar also lets you add links. So if you have an event or something like this, you could add URLs right here. If you paste it in, you can see it's clickable. So you can now go when this event comes up, or when you're getting ready for it, you can go in and you can click on that link and it takes you to that page. And you can add as many links as you want here in this section of an event. I find this is particularly useful in event planning because you could put links to hotels and locations and things like that right here in the event itself. So you don't have to go and find those links in your bookmarks or some other place. It's right there with your event in the calendar. Of course, you can also just create documents that hold links. So the simplest one might be to do a TextEdit document. You're going to want to make sure that you're doing rich text here so it could hold the link. You can copy and paste a link in here, and you see it turns into a link automatically. But make sure that under Edit, Substitutions, you have Smart Links turned on, else it won't turn into a link that you can click. You could also, of course, drag and drop links in here, and then the link will actually take the title of the page, but the link itself is the same. Will go to the same place. Of course, you can also use Pages for this. You can paste links in and you see it turns into a link. You can also drag and drop links in here, and when you select a link like this, you go to Format, you can edit link, you can change the display text to something else that's different than the link. So if you're writing any kind of document and you want to include a list of links, you can certainly do that in Pages and style it up any way that you want. Now if you're interested in maintaining a list, then doing it as a spreadsheet might be a good idea. You can drag and drop links or copy and paste them into numbers, and then you can really do a lot with the table here. So you can have the links, and they are clickable links here. You can leave these as links and maybe put the actual name of the site over here. You can maybe put notes and other information in other columns. Then you can shrink this table down, format it like you want. The cool thing about doing it in numbers is it's easy to sort. So you can sort by like the date you add them, or the title, or some rating system that you give them. There's all sorts of different things you can do for keeping track of data, like a list of links, in a numbers spreadsheet. So if you could use Pages and Numbers to store links for different reasons, how about Keynote? Is there any reason to actually store links in Keynote? Well, it could be a really handy way to have a graphical interface to different websites. You can create text boxes or shapes, and in them you can put whatever text that you want, and this can include things that are formatted as a link. So if you want to create a more free-form document that shows a bunch of different links, you can certainly do so here in Pages. Something like this, for instance, where a kid or somebody who's not very good at computers could actually just click on the links that they want and it opens up their web browser. Of course, when you're done making this in Keynote, you can simply export it to a PDF, and then they double click to open up the PDF document, and then all of these links would be active and take them to web pages. You could even add other buttons in here that then link to another page. So you can go and put slide and say slide number 2. And now this links to slide number 2, and maybe there's a link from slide number 2 back to slide number 1. And then that all works in a PDF, so they could have a multi-page kind of navigation system to get around and find the links that they want. I could imagine, for instance, a teacher using this to actually provide some links for an assignment in a class. Create a nice PDF that goes to different websites that they can use to find the information the student needs. So all of the things I just showed you could be used to create PDFs. As a matter of fact, you might want to do that if you're creating something in Pages, you are finished with a spreadsheet in Numbers or something in Keynote. You can go export that out as a PDF so that you don't need to actually open up the document itself in the app that you created it with to access the links. You can just access them in preview, or you could give it to somebody and they could access it in whatever PDF reader that they want. Now, wouldn't it be nice to be able to access websites here in the menu bar? Well, there's no real easy way to do that, but there kind of is. We now have this Shortcuts menu up here. So if we go to the Shortcuts app and create a simple shortcut here that opens a URL. So we'll just use open URLs here and I'll put in a URL. And we'll just call it the same thing as the site. And then under Setup here, I'll say Pin in Menu Bar. Now I could go here whenever I want. Click there. The first time it's going to ask for permission, but not after that. And now I have a quick way to get to a website from my menu bar. So add a few in here that you like. But you could also set this up with a keyboard shortcut like that. So I'll set this with the keyboard shortcut F17 like that. So now I can press that shortcut key and it'll actually trigger the shortcut and open up the website. So you can now assign a keyboard shortcut to a link if you have a site that's that important that you need to get to it with one press. And one last thing I want to show you. Remember when we had these little web location files and they have this horrible little icon here? I mean, why don't they have just the icon for the website? Hopefully at some point in the future Apple will add that as a function of these web location files. But until then, let me show you how to do it manually. You want to go to this address, but after the equal sign you type the name of the site. And that will give you the icon for that site. Control click on it and copy image. Then select the file, do Command I for info and select the icon there and do Command V to paste. And now you've got a web link that you can use in a variety of different ways that I showed you, but the icon makes sense. There are probably even more places and different things that you could do with web links. These are just some ideas. If you have some other ways of using web links that I didn't mention, put them in the comments below. I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.